Good morning, guys. Here are your notes for today. So our next chapter deals with like area and volume and surface area of both two-dimensional shapes to start, and then we'll get into like actual like 3D shapes. So that is where we're heading. Most of this should not be new for you today or even tomorrow. So I think you're definitely capable of doing this without me, but make sure your note sheets are in front of you. The title should say Area of Shape Notes. The first two are just squares and rectangles, and you guys have already learned how to find the area of one of these things. So remember from back in the day, to find the area of a square or a rectangle, you just did the base times the height, or some teachers would say length times width. And really it's the exact same thing. So for this square, I have a length and a width of 6 because it's obviously a square, so it's the same. So to get the area, I'm simply going to multiply those two numbers together. So the area of this would be 6 times 6, or 36. And then remember, the units are squared. So we did 6 centimeters times 6 centimeters, which makes 36 centimeters squared. So make sure you are putting the units. That's really important. And that is the answer to your very first question. The second one is a rectangle, and we're still going to do the base times the height. And so the base, or length, times the width. The base is 10.4 feet times the height is 11.3 feet. And when we multiply those two together, we get 117.52 feet squared. And so that's just a quick review of how to find the area of a square and a rectangle. So if you need to pause this here, go ahead and do it. Our next two shapes are parallelograms. You may not remember this one as well, but you probably should have learned this before. To find the area of a parallelogram, it's actually the exact same thing as a square or a rectangle. It's just the base times the height. You have to remember, when you're finding the height of something, it's measuring up and down. When you go to the doctor, or if you're just measuring how tall you are, it has to be straight up and down. You can't measure how tall something is at a slant. So the base is the bottom, and it's where the height runs into like that side. And I'll show you what I mean on the next one, because the base is not always the bottom, but the base and the height are perpendicular. So you're going to see that right angle symbol. So the base in this example is 6, and it's 3 miles high. So 6 miles times 3 miles is 18 miles squared. And that's the area of that parallelogram. For number 4, here's where you have to be a little bit careful. So this is the height. Okay, the height is this. And so the height and the base are perpendicular. So this is my base. So this shape is essentially turned sideways. So they're not always going to be turned the way you're thinking. So it's almost like it's just flipped on its side. So look where the dash line for the height, look what side that runs into to find your base. So wherever that right angle symbol is, are the two numbers you need. So we're not even going to use the 5.1. I mean, that's just extra information. It's how long that side is, but we don't need it to figure out the area. So to find the area of this parallelogram, I would do its base, which is 6.5 centimeters, times its height, which is 4. So 6.5 times 4 is 26, and then we have centimeters squared. So that is the area of number 4. So to find the area of a square, rectangle, or parallelogram, we just multiply the base times the height. For a triangle, it's very similar. A triangle is half of a rectangle, or half of a square, or half of a parallelogram. So that's why the formula is very similar. To find the area of a triangle, we take the base times the height, and we cut it in half. We divide by 2. So it's the same thing we were just doing. You just have to figure out what is the base and what is the height. So the height is the 5.9. Like I said, the height is perpendicular to the base. So the height is 5.9, the base is 3, and this 9 is just extra information, okay? That's how long this side is, and it's irrelevant to what we're doing. So the base in this triangle is 3 times the height is 9. So in your calculator right now, do 3 times 5.9. You're going to get a number. Once you have that number, then hit divide by 2. And when you do that, you should get 8.85, and then our units are meters squared. So make sure you're typing this in right. This is one where a calculator could give you a wrong answer if you do not type it in right, and it would just be a really stupid mistake. So just double check that you can type this in right. So I did 3 times 5.9, I hit enter, and then our equals, and then divide by 2. Or you could type it how I have it written here and put these parentheses and put it all in your calculator at once. That's completely up to you. For number 6, our height, how tall this triangle is 8.3 yards. And again, it runs into our base. It's perpendicular to our base, which is 12. So our area is going to be our base, which is 12, times our height, which is 8.3. So in your calculator, do 12 times 8.3, hit equals, and then we're going to divide that by 2. When you do that, you should get 49.8 yards squared. Again, if you want to type it all into your calculator at once, you're going to have to type it exactly how I have it typed out here with the parentheses. So that's the area of a triangle. Figure out your base, figure out your height, multiply them together, divide by 2. Again, the easiest way to see the base and the height is to realize that they run into each other. They make a right angle. They're perpendicular to each other. And then you never have to use that extra information. It's just there to throw you off. So that's a triangle. Our last shape is a circle, and again, should not be entirely new. You guys have learned circles before, but just as a refresher, the area of a circle is pi times radius squared. And remember, pi is 3.14. So if you want to you can either use the pi button on your calculator or type 3.14 times your radius squared. So remember, the radius is just the distance from the center to a point on the outside of the circle, so out here. So our radius is just 2 in this problem. So to figure out our area, I would do 3.14 or pi times my radius, so times 2 squared. And remember, the square button is the one that looks like the X with the square on top. It's right below the little caret button. So remember, to square something, you can just do the button that looks like this, X, and then it has like a little 2 on top. So when you type in 3.14 times 2 squared, you should get 12.56. And then our units are miles again, so it's miles squared, because we're still talking area, so our units are always squared. So that is the answer to question number 7, 12.56 miles squared. All right, so then you have to be careful on this next one. Notice they give me the entire diameter, and I'm sure you've heard that word before. Remember that the diameter is just double the radius, because it's basically 2 of the radius. So to figure out what our radius is, so our diameter is 23.2. To get the radius, we do 23.2 divided by 2. We cut it in half. And when we do 23.2 divided by 2, you should get that your radius is 11.6 inches. So our radius is 11.6. So we have to make sure we're using the radius to find the area, not the diameter. So that's 11.6. So when I go to find my area, I will do 3.14 times my radius, 11.6 squared. And when you type that into your calculator, you should get approximately 422.5 square inches. And that is your answer. All right, so you should be good to go with the worksheet now. So you're completing the worksheet that says Area of Shapes Practice. When you get finished, turn this in. You can always go back to these notes to get the formulas. Hopefully you wrote them down. Or the blue reference sheet should have been passed out, the little blue laminated card. If you flip it over to the back in the upper left-hand corner, you have all the area formulas there. So get this worksheet finished. Help each other out. Please get your work done. Stay on task. And then you should be good to go to do pretty much all of the ALEKS. So after you finish this worksheet, at bare minimum, please get the first like 3 or 4 done. All right? Have a great day, guys.